update on your fitness, please, Lucas?
Yeah, a lot better than I was on Friday. Felt it sort of just slip out on the range. My lower back, it kind of just slipped, and it wasn't necessarily painful, but I'd lost a lot of power, and I could tell it wasn't right. And it was just, I was like, it's going to be one of those days I'm just going to have to fight through and make the best of it, and get it worked on this afternoon. And it just didn't improve. And then my trainer was on the phone to my chiropractor and sort of having a bit of a discussion, and described I had referral pain sort of down my legs as well, and they were pretty insistent on me pulling out, and I really didn't want to. I didn't want it to seem like I was just playing badly and wanted to get out of there or anything like that, and I obviously wanted to be playing the Australian PGA too, so I pushed them away for a couple of holes before I was like, yeah, they're probably right. Like, a disc injury, when it comes on, it can give you no warning and put you on your back for 18 months. So I unfortunately made the decision to pull out. So I've actually never pulled out of a golf tournament before, so it was kind of sad for the first time to be in Australia, but feel a lot better now. I saw my chiropractor that afternoon, and he was very thankful to me that I did pull out, because he said it was in a position that was very susceptible to doing a lot of damage. So yeah, it was the right decision to pull out, despite the fact that I didn't really want to, and I don't think anyone really wanted me to pull out.
Even though you feel better now, what's given you know that there is an issue there? What's the driving force to tee it up this week then?
Well, I want to win the Australian Open. Like, I don't want to sit on my couch and watch someone else win it this week. So, and we've got a lot of time off after this week as well. Obviously Christmas and the New Year and whatnot. I think if this was going to be the first event of a 7 in 9 week stretch, something like that, you'd probably look at whether this is the right time to come back, just to give yourself the most time to recover. But I think being the last event of the season, it's in a good enough position where I feel like I can, play this week and not do any more damage. So, yeah, that's where I feel like I'm at.
Given that you're trying to get back in the world's top 50, ideally by the end of this week, do you feel like there's enough points given to the Australian Open and the Australian PGA Championship last week? 10 points for the winner. Does that feel representative of the strength of this field, or where do you sit in that?
I don't really know. I think I haven't really looked at the world ranking structure, I guess, for these couple of events at all. Obviously, I think all of us would like not more points for the winner and that kind of thing. But I don't think guys are really turning up here for the purpose of the world ranking points. I've seen a few of the European Tour boys out here this week already, and I can just imagine what they're thinking of the golf course, because it's just an amazing place to play. So I don't really think, I haven't really looked into the world rankings points side of things. If you win a tournament, I would like to think you would probably be moving up in the world rankings. So I think as long as that's still happening, I think it's a fair system.
Does the Australian Open on the Sandbelt mean something more, especially to someone from Victoria? Like, is it more desirable to win this than another Australian Open, another venue, another city?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like the Open Championship, winning it at St Andrews versus winning it at any other venues. Like, you're not going to say no to winning it at another venue, but it's definitely a lot more special to win it on the Sandbelt, for me anyway, given I grew up basically around this area and have played a ton of golf at both these golf courses. To win one here, it would just be, yeah, like you said, a lot more special than anywhere else where, you don't have that same connection. So yeah, it would be very cool to be holding that trophy at the end of the week.
You said before the PGA that if Cam brings his best stuff, he's the bloke you got to beat. That sort of looked apparent last week. I mean, going to this tournament though, different golf course he's won, he's got a hangover, that sort of stuff. Is it the same, or is it a bit more open this week, coming back down to courses like these rather? I
think if you ask anyone standing around here and the bloke cleaning that marquee over there, they'll all tell you that Cam Smith is the bloke to beat this week. I don't care whether he's got a hangover or not. He's probably the second best golfer in the world right now. I don't know whether rankings are reflecting of that, but he is. He's had the season that would prove that. So he's the guy I've got to beat for sure. He's proven that on multiple different venues, different styles of golf courses, everything like that. So I don't think it matters that we're now down to Victoria and he's got a hangover. He's definitely the guy we've got to beat.
The Australians have always had someone there or thereabouts in terms of the rankings, but sometimes it's been one out from the days of the Shark right through. But to see Cam dominate a year like he has, what does that do for the rest of the Australians on the tour and the rest of the Australians playing around the world?
It's impressive to watch. I mean, just been an entire year where it just feels like he's the guy to beat at every event. He just hasn't. It feels like he hasn't had a weak tournament. I think you could probably go through his results and pick out a miscut here or there, but it just feels like every week it's like, oh god, there's Cam up there on the leaderboard again. We've got to beat him. So yeah, it's fun to watch. Like obviously the Australian public generates a lot of interest from us, and you know, I feel like we get sort of swept up in it. So it's definitely cool to be along for the ride with.
Did you play with Jeff Ogilvy at the PGA?
I did, yeah.
Did you chat about the President's Cup at all?
We did.
How'd that go?
Look, he was pretty honest. Like, it was something that I probably knew about the entire way through, and that the selections were made based off, you know, stats for Quail Hollow. Had it been at a different golf course, I might have got a different look in for the way it was. But if you look at the statistics, like the weakest area of my game is my driving accuracy, and it's something that you need around Quail Hollow. So, despite, like, you know, I obviously said last week that I was really pissed off to not play, and you know, I think I have every right to be pissed off. It's still, you can make a very solid argument as to why the 6 guys that got, you know, selected as captain's picks got selected. You know, and they did a great job. They did a lot better job than everyone gave them credit for, in terms of, you know, we thought it was going to be a 30-0 whitewash at the start of the event. So for a minute and a half there on Sunday, it looked like we were half a chance there to win the International. So those picks played really well, and they were if you go off the numbers, they were the right picks to make. You know, if I want to make that team next time and not have to worry about the politics, I just play better and get in as an automatic qualifier. But it's still disappointing to have the year I had and feel like I was there to offer what I had and not get picked. So yeah, look, Jeff and I talked about it, and he was basically saying that, like, don't take it personally. And you know, had it been a different golf course, I might have got a different look in.
Are you playing with that, not as a motivation, but in the back of your mind every tournament you play for the next 2 years now, maybe?
I think it comes and goes a little bit in waves. Like, you know, the President's Cup's 2 years away now, so it's not in the forefront of my mind. I've got hopefully 8 majors to play before then, but I think it's kind of similar to the Augusta conversation at the moment. Like, I think I'll be playing Augusta next year, whether it happens at Christmas or whether it happens 2 weeks out from the tournament. I just think I'm playing well enough and I'm doing enough of the right things that if I keep sticking to that I will get inside that top 50 again and we'll be playing. And it's similar with the President's Cup. I think I'm improving, I'm trending in the right direction, I'm getting better at golf, I'm getting used to more playing in the US and you know, becoming the player that I want to be. So if I keep doing that, I can't not play a President's Cup at some point. And, you know, I can't do anything more than what my best is.
What's your schedule like in sort of January, February? Is any part of it related to the Masters if you weren't to get in by December 31? Or is it more about scheduling around those elevated events and the majors? I
think Augusta and the match play would be the only 2 events I'm not locked into. So, I mean, the schedule up until then doesn't change. And I think at the position I'm at with the world rankings and my, you know, exemptions on tour and everything like that, I kind of have to like take those events like the Masters, if I get into them, as a bit of a bonus. I'm probably not now at a stage where I can, you know, gear my whole year around Augusta, because obviously it's a bit up in the air as to whether I'll play. So I do have to take those kind of events a little bit as a bonus if I do get them and when I do get them. But I've still got a lot of great events to play. I think like 6 out of the first 8 events I play or something like that are all the elevated events on the US tour. So, like, you know, it's gonna be a hell of a lot of fun. We're gonna have some really good competition, because I think, you know, those elevated purses will get the best guys in the world playing all the time. So it's gonna put a good test on your game and see where you're really at, and, you know, it just makes you focus and be that little bit more intense for your practice sessions, just that little bit more.
Just changing tack a little bit, I'm not sure if you want to talk about it or not. Just overheard they talking about a medical diagnosis for your mum. Is that something that's come a bit of a shock to you this week, or is that a recent thing? Or
yeah, worked on it. It's just happened over the last couple of months. So yeah, it's sad to sort of watch your parents go through that kind of stuff. But she's more stubborn than me, so I know that she'll get through everything and get there at some point. But
does it make it hard being touring and having to be away from home?
Look, my dad's a great support for her. I know he'll do more than she wants him to do at home. So it's that sort of takes a bit of the pressure away and makes me feel a little bit more at ease. Obviously, being out there on tour, and like, we've had a lot of conversations about it the last couple of weeks, and Mum more than anything wants me to go and play well and get my head on TV, so that it gives her something to watch. you know, early in the mornings or late at night, sitting at home rather than being able to travel with me. So if that's what she wants me to do, I'm going to have to go and work on that for her.
Well, we saw the emotion from Sunday with Cam's grandmother as well, walking the fairways as well. I mean, that sort of can be sort of inspirational, those sort of battles that your family are having.
Yeah, I think family's the most important thing with, you know, with anything really. Like, that's the people, you know, like I said earlier with my dad, like my dad deserves more credit than he gets for, you know, everything he did for me for my golf career. He drove me everywhere as a kid and gave me the chance to be able to sort of live my career like it is now. Like, I think when I was in year 11 or year 12, I would get, so on a Thursday, like an example for a Thursday, I was in the VIS in Melbourne at the time, so we were living near Bendigo. So Dad would be up at 4, wake me up just before 5, get in the car, and I'd sleep in the back seat all the way to Melbourne. He'd drive me to Melbourne to Lakeside Stadium there where the VIS trained. 6:30 we'd turn up. He'd wake me up, walk in, do a gym session with the VIS. He'd sleep in the car, come back out. He'd then drive me back to Bendigo to make it my 11 o'clock. I think it was PE class. To make that class, get some sort of food on the way. Had a double PE, so you'd finish at 1. He'd then pick me up and we'd drive to Ballarat, where my coach was, which is about an hour and a half. And we'd have a lesson with Dom, and then he'd drive me back home whilst I was pretending to do homework in the front seat next to him, and he'd get home at 6 o'clock and, well, even later, 7:30, and just crash and burn. And we, that was us for a Thursday for 2 years at school there, like. And that kind of felt like nothing. Like he'd do that kind of stuff all the time. Aussie Masters in 2014, we finished 11th and didn't get the invite to the Australian Open. So he goes, "Oh, I'll drive you to Sydney tonight," because we couldn't get a flight. He drove me overnight to Sydney to get to the Monday qualifier, then caddied for me when we got in. Like, he does that sort of stuff for me he was doing that sort of stuff for me all the time when I was a kid. So like, I think he's gonna love stepping into that role again of like caring for mum and looking after mum again. So yeah, it'll be that sort of puts me at ease a little bit more to go travel a bit. And I've looked at the schedule to see when I can get back next, and it's just tricky. Like, it's just from January to August, it's going to be flat out. So I don't know whether I'll get back or not, but I know that he'll be looking after her better than she needs, basically.
Thanks, Lucas.
Thanks,
Cool. Thanks, guys.